Mao. 2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Scott Geirman. This is DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com, senior staff writer, Dodger Blue. I'm here with my good buddy, managing editor, the hardest working person I know, Blake Williams. How we doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. My fantasy baseball trade deadline today, so been working on some deals, pulling some texts, getting some stuff done here, but it's all good. Patriots played, sadly lost. Drake may look good though, so
got a new hat. Busy Blake Williams, new hat guy, busy working the phones. Yeah, he's letting the flow through him. He's letting the hate flow through him. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us on a late one. We're going to let everybody trickle in here. We've got, a solid show tonight. There's a lot of stuff we've got to dig into about upcoming series, where the Dodgers currently stand, the obvious, everyone taking a look at the standings, division standings, NL West. It's impossible to ignore now. For the people that for years have been saying that a massive division lead is something that nobody wanted anymore because of it, maybe it was just a little bit too easy. Well, if you hope that, right now you're getting your wish. Blink, and last week I remember asking Blake by the weekend, this next middle of the week, are the Dodgers out of the top spot in the National League West? And I'll have to go back, and I think you said maybe not. But it's trending in a way where some miscues and some 50-50 balls and moments like today and some unfortunate spots and one-run losses, some Walker Buehler starts, runners in scoring position woes, and playing against, quality opponent in the Milwaukee Brewers, but also having to stave off the Arizona Diamondbacks and San Diego Padres, who are playing unbelievable. This is getting very, very tight now, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you asked me that last week, I said 1.5 games.
Yeah.
I think they're right around that right now. So,
with the tiebreakers, it might as well be.
So yeah, things aren't going too well for them. Taking 2 out of 4 from the Brewers, you can live with that. It's 2 really good teams pulling against each other. I think you can be happy with a 500 result there, but they also had a chance to sweep and made a lot of sloppy baseball, poor mistakes that cost them. So that's the disappointing end of it. Like, if you're doing that in the playoffs, that's going to cost you, and that's the things that's going to hurt you, come back to bite you badly. So they got to play better than that, and hopefully they will once they start getting their lineup even more together.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's up, chat? Everybody here. Craig, BC, Obi, what's up, guys? How we doing? It's good to have you in. We've got to stick around towards the end there. We're going to open it up, Q&A, like Blake and I always do. We let people hop in here, vent. Anything that's on your dome, anything that's up top, we entertain it. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to as well, and stuff that I'm really curious to get into. What's up, Susie? About moments like tonight, like in the 8th inning, how you can see Maddie, I don't think a lot of teams are getting to 100. This is going to be a different year, but back to the 8th inning, there's going to be moments where, like Dave Roberts tonight, I thought that I thought the 8th inning, it would have been a great spot for Ahmed Rosario for Gavin Lux right there. So that was a moment for me. I know I was texting Blake talking about, moments, things in today's game that I really kind of stuck with me, bugged me. And it's stuff like that. And I think the better question is what will those moments look like a week from now when Tommy Edman's here, when Max Muncy's here? Will it be Kike Hernandez, what's up, David, possibly being in those spots? So I'm still remaining on my thing of what I said a couple weeks ago, that this is a team that we don't know. And I remember, I think it was Good Vibrations asked the question our last stream about, is this team soft? They're showing some signs of resiliency in different spots. Hold on a sec. I don't know what that was. Sorry. Some signs of resiliency in a lot of different spots. But I think that for Dave Roberts, he still is in that uncomfortable place with swaps with his, bottom of the lineup. We're getting in some places where Mookie Betts is coming in at the back end of a game where maybe he was better served going in the 8th inning. Different stuff like that. But Blake and I are going to start off tonight talking about the possibilities of the rotation getting some, getting pushed back. Glass now getting some extra rest. and Bobby Miller and Justin Wrobleski being options, and how, that could provide the rotation against the Cardinals team that is having a hell of a time putting offense together. What are some things for you, Blake, with where the rotation stands and kind of how this can help them out a bunch?
For me, I think it's more about just getting them rest than like bringing these guys in to actually kind of carry the load or anything like that. You don't need them to come in and be your aces. You need them to come in, take some pressure off the other starters, take some pressure off the bullpen. I'm a little surprised that Bobby Miller is an option because he struggled himself all year. And if he in and goes 3 innings or something and gives up a couple runs here, now you're putting your bullpen in another tough position.
Yes.
So that was a little surprising to me. Like, I get Justin Wrobleski being an option to give everyone an extra day. He has pretty much gone 5 innings in a lot of his starts, and he's been pretty solid. So I get that. Totally on board with that. If they do end up going with Bobby Miller, I just have some problems figuring out what their plan is with him, because they sent him to AAA to work on things because he wasn't performing well. And then he, of course, had the shoulder setback, I believe it was, and he missed a start. So he hasn't made like a ton of progress since then. So if you're doing it out of desperation, like, that's a little more concerning to me. I'd rather them kind of just skip that route and go somewhere else. Like, just, they can't bring up Landon Knack now because they brought him up for the bullpen role and all that. But I don't know.
Possibly there. Wrobleski.
They need a 40-man move if they did that, and they're already getting tight on 40-man spots, especially when Yamamoto comes back and Muncy and Edman and everyone else. So you've put yourself in a bad spot with Bobby Miller with how he's done this year, and now you're kind of asking him to come in and help take the load off other struggling pitchers or pitchers who aren't getting enough rest. So it's just like a strange decision to me.
Yeah, and the capacity of where, and Chad, you guys are hitting on all cylinders tonight. I see all this stuff. I'm going to star some things there. Keep those takes for the back end. You're nailing a lot of stuff that we've been talking about off stream. For Bobby Miller, I totally agree with you. His issues were command. His issues were staying in the strike zone, even debuting, starts in the strike zone, making competitive pitches. Goes down to AAA, and in 28 innings, in multiple, different spots with single A, AAA, but just what he's done in OKC since June 7th. He in 21 2/3, he's got a 5.82 ERA, 17 strikeouts, 16 walks, and he's allowing a lot of contact. A lot. He's not allowing home runs. He's allowing a lot of contact, not missing a lot of bats there. So not a lot of stuff to like. Is that kind of where you're keying in on of why, like, it's just a perplexing option?
Yes. I mean, I still believe in Bobby Miller long-term. I like the talent and everything, but this year, for whatever reason, he just doesn't have it. Sometimes that happens to pitchers, and like, maybe he gets back on track in the next month or something, but he shouldn't be trying to get back on track at the major league level. He should be working on those issues in the minor leagues and trying to figure out what's going on, what's wrong, and fix those. Like, this is a team in a pennant race now because you've been playing poor baseball while your opponents have been playing very good baseball. And now you're like, hey, come up and try and figure out your issues here. Oh, and by the way, we have a 1-game lead in the NL West. It's just, I don't love that idea. Like, I know this is probably crazy, but Rich Hill's sitting out there, like, bring him in for 2 starts and then DFA him or something. Like,
I saw that he's leaning towards the signing with the Red Sox.
Yeah, they lost Paxton to an injury, so I guess they need another lefty, former Dodger lefty, to come in and help them out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at his stuff, and we talk about all the time about results in AAA and rehabbing stuff in minor leagues. It's secondary to health. But right now, Bobby Miller, we need to see some results, I believe. And since he's been in there, his best start came on July 20th when he went 5 shutout. But still, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. It's still the lack of command there. That's going to get him beat. It's going to get him beat at the big league level. Just like you said, he's had a tough time, this season, and it just happens. I'm with you that I believe in him long-term, but for right now, where the Dodgers are currently at, I see a lot of people in chat, and I agree with you guys. You can't afford to be giving away games. Definitely in a time where the Dodgers are playing a lot of games in a short span here, not a lot of days off. They're playing a tougher schedule than the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The Dodgers just have to hunker down. They've got to play. They just flat out have to play. You can't be giving away games. Stuff like today, Dodgers lose a nail biter essentially. You battle back for Jack Flaherty, and then you scratch only one rest of the way. Daniel Hudson has a blow up, and that's ball game right there. It just felt very flat. There's a couple different spots, but it's going to happen. They just came off, I believe, a 5-game runner. So you're playing good ball, and then you're not. And then the issues that have plagued them for a bit are starting to spark up. And now, again, they're worrying about having to shuffle these guys. But I do believe, and I'm going to pull this up, that if they're going to give the starters some rest, right now against the Cardinals would be the time. Because with the Cardinals in the month of August, as I try to pull my thing up here, the Cardinals have the worst. This was going into today. Fangraphs hasn't updated yet, but their offense has essentially been one of the worst in Major League Baseball. Nearly under a sub 500 OPS with runners in scoring position. Solid sample there. But even if you get into trouble with them, the Cardinals have been playing such bad ball. Offense has been so bad that I think that they're picking a good time for it. Whether it's Bobby Miller or Justin Wrobleski, I would lean Wrobleski. But I would really believe that I would hope it's Justin Wrobleski. It's just lining up for Bobby Miller pitching in some capacity with the team right now. Do you think that the Dodgers are making a mistake by starting Bobby Miller, hopefully not giving a game away before it even gets to begin?
From what I understand, it's Bobby Miller would come up if they need like the extra coverage and if their bullpen was overworked or anything like that. I don't think it would necessarily be him replacing Wrobleski. If anything, it would probably be both of them, depending maybe on how Wrobleski's start goes or anything like that. So I would be very surprised if they picked Bobby Miller and left Wrobleski in the minor leagues. I think it'll be both of them or Wrobleski. So my other point would be, like you're mentioning, the Cardinals have been playing poor baseball on offense. That should be the time like where you go for the throat and try and get the sweep and try and increase your lead
chances,
in the NL West. Don't send out your B squad because you're playing a B team. Go send out the A squad because you're playing a B team and try and win those 3 games. Because right now you're in a position where all these games are mattering. Like we said a lot in July and even June, these games don't matter, but the Dodgers have played pretty poorly since then, and now they do matter. So you can't take your foot off the gas there. You got to go for the sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. Roost Street, what's up, man? I got you. Absolutely. Everybody, just give me a second. I got a lot of tabs opened up to fit the narrative. It's getting to a point. This is the stuff we talked about, guys. It's the stuff. Grab tight. Hold on. You just have to be patient here. It's unfortunate that being patient also could come with the possibility of being out of that top spot. And then we get into the conversation of now they've got to climb back. Now you've got to play consistent baseball at all 3 phases. When it's been a struggle all year for them to do that. The offense can be back at full strength with Muncy, with Tommy Edman, and find their rotations there. But the starting rotation is going to be continuing to be a question mark until we know more. And that's a scary thought. And I think that's why they're picking right now. They're playing their best odds that they believe that the Cardinals, they're an opponent that they might be able to just power their way through it. And they could be. They're going against Miles Michaelis tomorrow. I think that, Jake, channel my inner Jeff. This is a spot in the schedule where I'm with Blake that I think they should go all in, but that doesn't mean that you have to just necessarily start your A1 guys. If the plan right now and the best thing for them, they believe, is to push them and give them just a day of rest, just one day. But the offense has to step up. It's unacceptable to be going 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position, not tacking on extra runs. Like I've been saying, players got to play, and everybody needs to be mindful of that players have to play at the end of the day. Dave Roberts' move in the 8th inning hasn't impacted the rest of the innings prior. Going 1, 2, 3, striking out, stranding guys. Players got to come up big. Players got to make it happen. Consistency. And then we'll get to see, truly what they're made of if they're soft. Shout out to Good Vibrations. We're going to keep that a theme here. But we've got a super chat from Rich. Thanks, Richard Flores. Thanks for the $10. We appreciate you as always, man. There was enough talent to take 3 out of 4. I believe a sweep. Absolutely. Hudson can't allow that to happen. Can't afford to have Ferris, Walker Buehler, and Bobby Miller figured out this late in the season, resting Mookie after all that time. Pick one, go for it. I'll piggyback.
So the thing with resting Mookie, he didn't go play any minor league rehab games. He was doing all his work at Dodger Stadium, and it does like drain you to get back into there after you're not built up for that. Like, I don't have a real problem resting Mookie. You don't want to like rush him back and then risk injury because he wasn't fully built up or anything. So you want to see him in there every day, but like making sure he's fresh down the line is going to be a little more important than 3 days in a row or whatever. I agree with Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller. They shouldn't be figuring out their issues at the major league level. The problem with Buehler is they tried to have him figure out his issues away from the team and in the minor leagues, and it seems like he didn't really do it. Walker Buehler said that he feels closer to being where he needs to be, but if you watch his outing, I think most of you and myself would disagree with that statement.
That spray chart.
It was awful. There wasn't much. He should have allowed more. He allowed 1 earned run in that game and 4 runs total, but he should have allowed like 7 or something from everyone who was watching the game. He got bailed out a few times, and it just wasn't good at all. So if that's your feeling closer to where you need to be, like, that's pretty concerning. And then, I also agree there should have been a sweep. Unfortunate it was Daniel Hudson that blew the game today because he's been pretty much locked down for most of the year. He's allowed a few runs here and there, but that's a guy who's been your most consistent reliever all year. And sometimes that just happens. Like, relievers aren't always going to be perfect. If everyone who watches this show knows, I talk about that a lot. Don't ever trust relievers. Like, even your best ones are going to fail you at times. So that's just unfortunate there.
Yeah, Daniel Hudson's been their number 1 wins probability at it all year. He's been their guy. He's pitched in, I think, as of today, 51 games this season. So he's had a heavy workload, and we're talking a veteran reliever. Like, it's no spring chicken. He's a 37-year-old arm, a lot of miles on there, and he's been outstanding. If he didn't play soccer in that inning, the Dodgers, it's a completely different story. If he gets out of the way and he knows it, he even spoke on it post-game, talked about how, the first one went between his legs, hit his glove. Second one caught the bottom of his shoe. If he lets that go through, we're talking about a completely different ball game. And then it's just a completely different thing. And then we're talking about 3 or 4, and then it's a non-story. Then we're on here saying they just took 3 or 4 from a division-winning team. Milwaukee Brewers are absolutely taking care of business here. But yeah, Ray, I see you, man. Like, I agree. Like you said on, like, we talked about patience, and I understand. Like, I don't preach patience saying being patient is going to keep them in the top spot. The Dodgers set themselves up to be in this position. There's nothing that anybody can do. Like, the players, they have to execute. They've got to get back healthy. They've got to manage this well. We can bang the table for asking for patience and saying that, but we won't know what they've got. And it might come when we're second place. It might be in third place because the Diamondbacks and the Padres are playing so close together. So I'm with you. I'm totally on the same thing, that it's a tough time to ask for patience, but they're in a position where they're getting healthy. They've got to find it real late. Got a couple more super chats here. Alfonso, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here again. $5. Why rest Mookie? Just think it's unfair for the other players. They have to step it up because Robert's decision. Mookie got good Airbnb rest. Yeah, I mean, I would have stayed in the Airbnb too. I don't mess with that stuff. I think, yeah, you're a big leaguer. If you can pay for it, go find something you like.
Scott, are you scared of the ghosts there too?
No, I'm not scared of ghosts, but I just wouldn't deal with that. I've had some sleep paralysis encounters and stuff like that make you go, okay. Like, I know some people in chat are going to say that's a scary experience. It certainly is. But piggybacking on what you said about Mookie Betts, I would have waited for tomorrow's game to rest Mookie. And I know it just came back, but he's a rested guy. He's a superstar. He's a big leaguer. Like, it's a hard thing for me in a series that matters against like this, like the Brewers. You're in a spot where you have a chance to take 3 or 4. I would not have sat him, but I'm not the manager. I would have just waited for a day like Friday against Miles Mikolas, where I feel like the offenses would have been okay without Mookie Betts there. Instead, they opted to go against, Tobias Myers, and arguably has been an anchor for the Milwaukee Brewers. So I think they picked the wrong day to do it. If that's how it planned up with the training staff, that's how it planned up. But I thought it was a mistake, and it's just might have been that way because Dave Roberts pinch hit him late in the game, which was ridiculous too. Like, if you're going to do that, just start him. Put him in the 8th inning. Put him in a plus spot.
There's a big difference between taking one pinch hit at bat and playing an entire game. And I think a lot of those decisions, especially with players coming back from injuries, are more training staff decisions than like Dave Roberts specifically saying we have to get this guy a break. Like the training staff is in communication with players every single day, discussing what's best for them and their health. And sure, we can make a lot of jokes about how it hasn't been working for the Dodgers.
I was going to say, I don't trust their training staff, so.
But like, it's still something where like if Mookie says like he's still building up his stamina and trying to get back into game shape, because there is a thing with game shape and being able to play on an everyday basis. It does take a lot of work that goes into it. And Mookie had a lot of time off where he wasn't able to stay in complete game shape. So now it's going to take him like a little time to get back. It's sort of like somewhat of spring training where guys aren't going to play every day because they're building themselves up. So I think like if Daniel Hudson made his pitches today and pitched to the level he's capable of, no one's talking about Mookie getting a day off today. So it's just kind of an unfortunate situation where it gets a little more highlighted because the rest of the team failed to do their jobs. And yeah, it is fair to expect your superstars to be there and stepping up and helping carry the team, but they had a lead in the 8th inning. Like there's not much more you can ask for that. And even the day before they lost, partly because Mookie made an error. So like he wouldn't have guaranteed a win or anything. Maybe he would have helped, but in my opinion, the game was still just on Daniel Hudson today. And then also I'll just throw out, like, for anyone who doesn't know the story about Mookie at the Airbnb, the hotel that the Dodgers and other MLB teams stay at in Milwaukee is allegedly haunted. So Mookie doesn't want to deal with that. There's a lot of players telling their ghost stories. So Mookie got the Airbnb, in case anyone was wondering.
I'm not staying there either. No chance. Nah. I don't care. I'm not doing that.
There was, I was reading one story, I forget who the player was, but he was hearing ghost noises or something, and he just told the ghost, like, you guys can stay, do whatever you want, but just let me sleep. And then he stopped hearing noises. So I thought that was kind of a funny story to it. Maybe Mookie could have tried that. And yeah.
Nope. I'll stay on my own Airbnb. That's, peanuts. The Mookie Betts. He's got that superstar contract. He's staying. He's sleeping tight. He could play. He could have played 4 games. Then rested on Friday night against Miles Michaelis and let the rest of the offense do its thing. I know I see people saying we'll agree to disagree. We'll agree to disagree. It felt like if you're talking about against the division leading team, Milwaukee Brewers, who you could absolutely face again in the postseason, and you've got to see them. I want my guys out there. That's just where we'll disagree there, and that's okay. That's totally fine, and I totally understand your point of view there. But I thought that if the game comes down to if it's a 1-run game, if it's a 2-run game, I think, Mookie Betts, players of that caliber that can inject that type of stuff, that offense, and we've already seen he's up to speed. I thought that it's something that could have absolutely swung the game. I'm not going to be like, Mookie Betts not starting lost in the game because Daniel Hudson did that, but Mookie Betts being in there certainly would have made a difference and had an extra swing, done something where you wouldn't have to let Gavin Lux face a lefty in the 8th inning when you definitely could have jumped on him then. Could have, picked different spots. Kike Hernandez could have been somewhere else, could have come on a pinch hit roll, whichever. It would have changed the game, certainly, but I'm not going to be like that lost in the game. But I don't like, pick a better spot. Pick a better spot. All right. We're going to recap the game. I know we
have one more super chat.
We have one more super chat, but we're going to recap the game in just a minute. Eddie, thank you, man. We appreciate you a bunch. Thanks for the $5. Is it me or does Ohtani take selfish at bats? I would like for him to take a walk instead of swinging a ball 4 or 5, ball 4 or 5 feet off the plate, pass the baton. Sure. Yeah. Mookie, Shohei Ohtani's been slugging, the last, 7 games, 30 games, whichever, but his, on base, definitely taking a hit there. Batting average. Absolutely. He's expanding the zone for sure. Is it selfish at bats, Blake?
Maybe a little, but I'm not sure it's a bad thing necessarily. Like, I don't think you want Shohei Ohtani to be up there saying, like, try and take a walk. You're paying Ohtani and setting him up there to try and get you an extra base hit, a homer, drive-in runs. So,
yeah,
I think, like we've talked about a lot, Ohtani has been in a slump recently. And if he wasn't in a slump right now, like, you don't really care that he wouldn't take a walk or something. You want him to be up there swinging. Unfortunately, right now, it's just a little more highlighted when he's producing outs because he is in his slump. But I think this is something we've talked about a lot in like the playoffs the last few years. Seems like sometimes the top hitters in the lineup can be a little too patient. And that's partly the reason both of us really like the Teoscar signing, because he was going to bring a little more free swinging into their lineup, try and do damage all the time. Like, I think it can be a good thing when you have some free swingers in your lineup and some patient hitters in your lineup. I don't think you need every single hitter to be exactly the same type of person. And sure, it would be nice to see Ohtani chase less or anything, but at the end of the day, he's been having an amazing season so far, and it's really kind of hard for me to complain about what he's doing because he's just been so great. And like every player, he's going to go through slumps and good times and bad times, but like, it's Shohei Ohtani, and you're going to trust for him to go up there and swing at the right pitches and drive runs in and slug.
100%. Yeah. I just, in the leadoff spot, he has the opportunity to do a ton of damage, change a ball game, one swing. Everything he hits is hard. His slugging being 533 over his last 7 games, 30 at-bat sample, last 7 games, 30 at-bat sample, is remarkable. But for a leadoff hitter, a guy who can churn an offense, do some damage there, and you've got, Freddie back, Mookie's there now, change it up a bit. It might become it might just be an approach thing. He might just be in a funk, but it's been a prolonged one. His last 15 games have not been good. So anybody saying they're out on what he's doing there, swap the lineup around, it's just it's a prolonged slump for Shohei Ohtani. But he's got all the ability, and Blake, you've kept me in check on that a bunch. He'll flip the switch, and then everybody will forget about all of it. So I think I'd lean more towards that. But I would definitely certainly like to see that happen sooner rather than later, just to help pick up the pitching staff there with Mookie back. Hopefully, we get more starts instead of less sits from, Mookie Betts, get that 1-2 in there, get him comfortable, possibly. And then we can get Mookie Betts out of the slump that when I was really complaining about him being too complacent in the box, looking for 3-2 counts, getting him into a spot where he's in way too many 0-2 counts, and then he's reaching, then he's chasing. Now it's Ohtani going through that type of struggles. Again, guys, go ahead.
The thing with Ohtani also is, since he's so good and he does tend to be a little bit more of a streaky hitter, like when he's on his hot streak, he'll hit 5 homers in 3 days or whatever. And like, you remember him doing all that kind of stuff. And then when he only hits 3 homers in a week, you're like, wow, what's going on? Everything's wrong with him. So I do think that tends to maybe hurt him a little, just because our expectations are so high with him. And we can see that like when he's right, he's going to hit a ton of homers and he's always going to be on base. Everything's going to be hard. He's going to be hitting extra base hits constantly. So it just gets a little more pronounced with his slumps because we expect so much from him. And that's something I've kind of talked about the last 2 weeks now, I think also. So probably need him to break out here pretty soon so we don't have to keep talking about that every week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's slugging. He's up there. You look at his post All-Star break numbers, 530 slug, but batting average on base, 210 batting average, 310 on base. Big drop-offs, almost 100-point drop-offs in both categories, pre and post. So definitely something's going on there. I don't like using the fatigue word because he's a big leaguer and been doing this a long time, and he's a DH. I just think he's in a spot where getting pitched difficult, and it's getting in a mental thing, and now it's become a habit. So let's break that and go from there. So let's do the recap. Appreciate you guys being here again. It's probably the latest recap in a show we've ever done, 30 minutes in. Shout out to the 700 in here. We appreciate you. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh my God, YouTube. We need to go on Instagram, TikTok. Blake, you want to make a TikTok?
We talked about it a little. We'll see.
Let's do it. All right, we'll see. All right, but Jack Flaherty, out of the gates, tough. Gives up 2 bombs in the first inning. Behind the 8 ball. I liked what I saw from Flaherty today after that. After he gives up a leadoff double, home run, and then, next batter, another home run. But he has 2 dominant strikeouts, I would say, in the first inning. And that gave me a lot of, plus for him. That I was saying, it's just 2 bad pitches. Choria makes a great swing, and Contreras on that one, he just backed up a slider. And that's just a poor location there. Goes on to retire 5 straight. I think he had 15 whiff on the day. Gives him a solid outing, but I would have liked to have seen one more inning. What did you like from Flaherty today, and what didn't you like?
I like that he battled and did his best to keep them in the game. After his poor start there, when he led the 2 homers and the double, it would have been easy for him to kind of spiral out of control or let things get worse, but he didn't. He came back, he settled in. he gave them what ended up being a fairly quality start. Like, sure, you would have liked another inning or one less run on the board, but sometimes pitchers just don't have their best stuff, or they just get beat by hitters on good pitches, and things happen in baseball. You can't always rely on your starting pitcher to be perfect every time out. So he wasn't perfect today, but he still kept them in the game, gave them a competitive 5 innings there, and the strikeout stuff was good, as you mentioned. So could have been worse, could have been better, but like when his floor is really high, so his bad outings are going to be kind of like this, and like you're okay with that. You can live with that. The Dodgers were in position to win the game. They should have won the game even with his start. So, I mean, I'll tip my cap to Flaherty there. He had a solid outing without his best stuff and without his best pitches, and turned out okay for him.
Yeah, he's been, poor stuff in his career against the Brewers. So for whatever reason, I'm same thing. Tip my cap to Jack Flaherty. Gave them a solid outing. Wasn't spectacular, but strikeout stuff carries. And that's something that when you watch him when he's dominant, you have a sequence where he stays in the strike zone. Stuff looks good. He's got command. It makes you think like, they've got a guy. And I think you fall in that same line that even with today, when he's at his most dominant, a sequence looks just fabulous. That's kind of what I'm like, I know I have with him. You kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a top of the rotation guy for sure.
For sure.
The best player traded at the trade deadline, probably by far, and he's going to make a big impact for this team down the stretch and hopefully into the playoffs. And today seemed kind of like a blip on the radar. And if his blip is a solid start still, like, you're going to be very happy with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. Totally. We can go into the bullpen. I'm not going to go inning by inning like I usually do because not much happened today. I know a lot of people are talking about, and we're starting to see this, Michael Kopech's use with the Dodgers now. And I think everyone's starting to see how unbelievable he is and how the Dodgers, perhaps alongside Tanner Scott, they might have gotten the best arm at the trade deadline, maybe the best 2 arms at the trade deadline. Jack Flaherty starting rotation, Michael Kopech in the bullpen. Give me one word. What do you love about Michael Kopech, or what does he make you, Blake? What does he make you think about?
Fastballs.
I like it. So he's been unbelievable with the Dodgers. Did you have any problem with Dave Roberts using him there in the 6th inning?
Not really. I know there are a lot of complaints about it on our Twitter while I was running that and everything, but it was a high leverage spot. It was a 1-run game with the heart of the Brewers lineup coming up. I know a lot of people think like the 6th inning and the 8th and 9th innings are completely different, but at the end of the day, you're out there getting 3 outs.
Mm-hmm.
It was giving the Dodgers an opportunity there to try and add on to their lead and keep it going. And
yeah,
like I said earlier, Daniel Hudson has been their best reliever for the entire season. So if you're telling me you can get to the 8th inning with Daniel Hudson in the game against the heart of the lineup, like, I'm taking that situation pretty much every time. And sure, you can say like he's regressed a little recently. I think he allowed 3 runs in his last week or something. But like I said, with relievers, that's going to happen. They're not always going to be perfect. He's been really good for the entire year. And you still had to use Daniel Hudson at some point. Like, you bring him in the 6th inning and he blows the game. And then you're saying, well, why didn't they use Kopech there? And you try and save Kopech for later in the game. And then that later doesn't end up coming because you no longer have the lead and everyone's complaining that Kopech didn't pitch earlier. So it's one of those things where it's unfortunate, but I felt like Dave Roberts did a good job there of setting up the Dodgers in a position to win the game. And today it just came down to the players not performing, which is going to happen from time to time.
Yeah, and yesterday, because of Walker Buehler, they used, Evan Phillips, Anthony Banda, Michael Grove, and Brent Honeywell there. 4 guys following Walker Buehler. That's a lot. That's a lot of relievers, and they get the same type of thing today. And as you can see, if you pull up the usage there, they're really trying to avoid back-to-backs because of the run that they're on now. They're really just trying to avoid it, and it's just going to come back to tandem. It's going to come back to having tandem starts. You're going to have to get some length from your starting pitching, and Jack Flaherty had some, laborious innings there early on. Like, it was unfortunate because of that. You expect him to give you 6, possibly 7. But the Brewers, they grind. They grind at bats. They're a top offense in Major League Baseball, and he had a tough start. He had a tough start to the game, finished out strong there. But I agree with you that it didn't matter where you used him, as long as it was in a spot that mattered, and he shut down, a big spot of the Brewers lineup. You look ahead of Daniel Hudson. He's been terrific. You avoid that inning, different ball game. But Vesia, Let's get to Bessie real quick. That was one of the most tightrope walk innings I've ever seen.
What do you mean? Buehler did it the day before. He walked the bases loaded, then got out of it. That's what all the Dodgers are doing now.
But that was just classic Alex Vesey. He gets a big bailout call from the umpire. Absolutely. Gets Joey Ortiz to fly out. And then, Terang strikes out to get out of the inning there. A lot of emotion. Results are results. That was a tough spray chart from Alex Vesia. So, it could have happened then. And it could have happened, insanity. He got all 3 outs on ball 4 if they don't swing. But they expanded. Brewers expanded. And it's just, results are results. It could have happened in multiple spots today. And I see Jake up here in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, man. Players just got to play. A lot of days it ends up players just not performing. Daniel Hudson's been good, but he's had big time usage. He's got to perform. Close ball game, got to perform. Alex Vesia has got to have be a little better. Starting pitchers got to go deep. Offense has to tack on. That's kind of where it lies for me.
See, Jake is actually Andrew Friedman. You can tell by the profile picture, and he's just trying to bail himself out, blaming it on the players.
Thanks for tuning in, Andrew. If you're on the plane right now, figure it out. Call up Dalton Rushing.
And the reliever that throws 104.
Oh, Enriquez? Yeah. Call him up. DFA Jason Hayward. Tell the league that you got rid of the wrong Ahmed. Redo that move. Figure it out. Then you could have properly pinch hit for Gavin Lux in the 8th and not handed away an inning just because. So thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you, man. Chat, I want to know if you're frustrated with the call, like the bullpen usage from today. I kind of want to get a pulse of what people are thinking. Or was that just how it went? Like it played out? Is that just how it played out? So let me know in the comments. Let me know right now, like if you had an issue with it, or is that just kind of how it's playing out? And it lies ultimately on the starting pitching to go deep in the game. So Dave Roberts doesn't have to use, 4 or 5 arms a night. And we're going to roll into another topic. I just want to see something. But Dodgers are losing ground real fast. Faster than I thought. I thought they'd be able to hold off a little bit. I thought they'd perform a little bit better. I thought they would take 3 or 4 from the Brewers. I enjoyed what they were bringing. I liked, earlier in the year, Dodgers had a feel for where they were at. I liked the pitching matchups. They took care of business against Freddie Peralta, Frankie Montas. Like, I am disappointed that it wasn't 3 or 4 or a sweep. I don't think 2. I know you said you were okay with 2 or 4, but I'm just not.
I mean, I was okay. If you told me going into the series the Dodgers would win 2 or 4, I think I would have been happy with that, with how they were playing and how things were going. But after seeing the results and how they got to win 2 out of 4 instead of 3 out of 4 or sweeping, like, it was disgusting results there. They should have won all of them. They should have at least won 3. Like, 3 errors in that 3rd game there that cost them. Walker Buehler's implosion, and then just Daniel Hudson blowing the game there. Like, those are all games that you have to win, and they will have to win going forward if they want to win the division. So, like, going into it, if you told me they're splitting with the Brewers, one of the top teams in baseball, like, you're happy with those results, but it should have been 3 or 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, the Dodgers have just a 2-game lead on the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres. What's your concern level right now, buddy? This is just going to be your gut feeling. What's your concern level with, if they lose out on the division, or not lose out right now because we don't know. If they drop out of that top spot, do we see absolutely anything different from them?
I don't think so. The Dodgers have always been a team that isn't going to panic for better or worse. They're not going to make significant changes. Like, the most significant change they've made in the past few years has probably been like benching Cody Bellinger in the final postseason game they played, or starting Kike Hernandez last year over David Peralta in the playoff game. Like, those are their panic moves they make. And it's just, they don't really panic. They try and stay on course, try and keep it level-headed and consistent, and trust that their talent is eventually going to win out. Whether that's the right decision or the wrong decision can be debated, but that's how they manage, and that's how I see them keep managing this.
How much you believe this? D-backs and Padres are hot. They'll regress to the mean when they face real competition.
I believe they'll regress at some point because it's really hard to keep playing baseball at this level that they're both playing at for a long period of stretch. I'm not going to buy into that it's about the competition or anything like that. It's still major league teams. We've seen the Dodgers lose to bad teams and then beat really good teams. So I don't really buy into all that competition stuff. Like, you're playing who's on your schedule. If you go out there and play good baseball, that's great. The Dodgers have had some stretches where they've played bad teams and they didn't win all their games. So if the Padres and Diamondbacks are the teams doing it, like, tip your cap to them. They're playing well. It's just up to the Dodgers to go out there and play better now too.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers that the Arizona Diamondbacks are putting up right now with runners in the scoring position and just offensively in the month of August are unbelievable. Like, they have a team on base, or not, a team OPS of 908 this month. And I think in the 7th, 8th, and 9th with runners in the scoring position, they have a WRC plus over 200. So then they've just been playing absolutely out of their minds, locked in. Not so many games, but it's a sample where it's like they're scorching. And it's just all happening when the Dodgers, again, guys, we just talked on Sunday about them they're trying to find an identity. They're trying to find some guys, trying to carve out roles for themselves. And it's all going to change. A couple things are going to change when Tommy Edman comes up. We'll get into him in a bit. We'll get into Max Muncy as well. Ryan Brasier, guys coming back, supplement the roster. Brasier this weekend. But for what Max Muncy is going to bring, Tommy Edman, it's going to change a lot of the rotations there. And it's going to, push some things down. It's going to take some pressure off some of these guys, put them in some platoon roles where I feel a little bit more comfortable there. I think that they're going to have a little bit more options. And again, like I said earlier, it might come at the price of looking at the standings. And we're not saying the first place Dodgers anymore. We might be saying the third place Dodgers because of how fast that can happen, because of how close. Yeah, tiebreaker there. We'll have to see. Man. It's just asking for patience with the crowd that we've got tonight. With the optimistic, the duo that you and I are, Blake.
Yeah, we're the most optimistic ones on the staff. We're always here providing all the optimism.
BC, might have caught up. Jamal might have caught up. This is at the point where they're playing hot. They're playing good ball. Teams around them are. Dave Roberts, like I said, has had more quotes recently talking about how the front office and the coaching staff and the players are more aware of what's going on around them than I've heard in quite some time. Obviously, like, the standings show it. Like, they've got to start playing with some urgency. And this is when you're going to hear me say a lot. Players just have to play. This is what they've got, and they got to go forward with it.
I do think the funny thing here is, like, we're talking about this, but the Dodgers are also a game and a half out of the best record in baseball, just all around in general. So, like, you have to take that with a grain of salt. Like, sure, the Dodgers aren't playing their best, but no one really is. Like, this is kind of a weird season in baseball where there's just no dominant teams like there usually are. We probably won't get a team to 100 wins this year, or if anything, maybe one. There's probably 4 or something last year, maybe even 5. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's definitely different this year. There's a different vibe across the league where teams just aren't playing as well. There's no truly dominant teams, and it's interesting to see.
Dodgers are at a different point, though, for me. And I think a lot of people in chat will agree with this, that the Dodgers have a lot of boxes to check. Not Arizona Diamondbacks doesn't look like they do. San Diego Padres made moves at the deadline where it looks like those are cherry on top pieces. The Dodgers made moves because they had to. Those are like, you've got to do it to seemingly stay afloat, because you wouldn't be able to go on towards the playoffs with just Tyler Glasnow at the front, praying for Yamamoto, and then without a Jack Flaherty. That was like a stay afloat move. That's what you got to do to get you there. There weren't the options. We'd be barring an injury from River Ryan. He's locked into a playoff start for me. So I think it's different. I have a different feel about just the league, just saying, the league is stinky overall, but that I feel like the Dodgers are in a different spot. So yeah, they might be a game out because they know the formula to get themselves there, but their problems have the possibility of being on that slippery slope where it can be much worse than teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks or the Padres, just because their offenses have been unbelievable. And we haven't seen that from the Dodgers in a bit. We just haven't, just because they've been so hurt and underperforming. I'm not going to leave that out and say being hurt is the only thing. But yeah, guys, both can be true. Both can be true. Let's see here. Lean on Blake a little bit for Max Muncy, because I haven't checked in on his rehab, where he's kind of at. But I know where Tommy Edman's at. He hit his first home run He hit his first home run tonight with OKC there. He looks terrific there. Bat to ball's been awesome. He's moving around fantastic. Getting on base, high clip, average looks great. He looks fluid. Remember, guys, this is a switch hitter who's going to play premier defense in center field, has the possibility to play premier defense at shortstop. So you're bringing in a guy who can slot in where Blake and I both like him in the 9 slot, where it's going to give you a guy to turn the lineup over. He's got some wheels, very versatile piece. Are you rank those 3 for me? Might not be tough. Who are you most excited about and who's going to have the biggest impact?
I think I have it in order on the banner there when I was setting it up. We got Muncy 1, Edman 2, and Brasier 3. So, yeah, I mean, Muncy is the best player of the 3, clearly. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. Although, when Tommy Edman is right, if he's healthy, like, he's a sneaky good player with good defense, good base running, solid offense. Like, you're not going to get amazing results from him, but pretty consistent floor of being around a 90 weighted runs created plus guy. The problem is his ceiling is probably like 97. So there's not a whole lot of upside there. But the last time he was fully healthy, he was a 5-win player in the year. And you add that to this lineup and like, you're very happy with that. It'll help solidify center field, maybe shortstop or second base some days if you need to sit the guy. So I think Edman's going to make a little more of an impact than a lot of people are expecting. And then
absolutely,
of course, if Brasier can get back to form with how we've just been talking about the bullpen, he would be a huge addition. Not entirely confident in that. We'll see, but it's probably better than guys like Honeywell and Michael Grove on the roster right now. So anything can help.
And Ryan Brasier has been terrific. You know, since July 27th, he's been spotless. Clean sheet in AAA. We're talking 8 innings. You know, he's faced 29 hitters, only allowed 4 hits, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. So the concerns that he showed early on, and there was, you know, a lot. Was it a fluke? Was it a contract that they got in? He's showing right now, at least in AAA, the results, the health, you know, checking both boxes there. So to Blake's credit, what he said, it's probably a little bit better option, more of a high leverage option if they do need that than guys like Honeywell, Michael Grove. I saw a question about Tommy Edman playing shortstop, and I know it's something that we've discussed a good bit, whether it's to each other on here. If Tommy Edman's playing shortstop, you're getting a guy with a premier glove. What possibilities does that open up with in center field?
Kevin Kiermaier every day. Let him roam the outfield and catch every ball. You're going to get no offense, but he's going to make every play out there.
Hey, he had a knock.
Okay. You're going to get little off. You're going to get pre-breakout Gavin Lux offense with amazing defense out there, which I think would be fun. I think you're going to see Miguel Rojas starting on a lot of days and Kevin Kiermaier starting on a lot of days. And whenever one of them isn't in there, Edman's going to fill in at the other spot. Might be depending on righty-lefty matchups and all that, but I think that would be a way to have premier defense at 2 premier positions every day. Absolutely. While making sure both of them are fresh and healthy, not wearing either of them out. And I think it would be great considering the options they've had at shortstop defensively and center field just in general for a lot of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, you know, let me know in chat real quick. I want to see if, you know, Tommy Edman plays shortstop. Who would you like to see in center field with that? Would you like to see more of Andy Pages out there because of what he's shown a little bit recently? Or would you kind of on, you know, Blake's side with that premier defense there and what Edman brings offensively, what he's going to raise, you know, the floor he's going to raise at shortstop, what he's going to do playing every single day, bridge a gap. Who would you like to see in center field when that happens, if that happens, or at least every day? You know, who would you like out there? Do you like run prevention? Because I do. If Kevin Kiermaier is out there, he can change the game. You saw it. Just let me know. Let us know down there, and we'll check that out. We've got a super chat here. Young Blake, is Lux's play here to stay?
To a degree. I think we're seeing the Gavin Lux a little more we expected to see. I don't think he's going to keep hitting at the level he has been recently. I think he's going to go on a cold stretch at some point, or the slugging's going to drop a little bit or something at some point. But
yeah,
I do believe he's in a much better spot than he was to begin the year. I think being an above league average hitter is sustainable for him. I'm not sure what level that's going to be at or anything, but I don't think we have to worry about him being an automatic out at the plate or anything like that moving forward.
Absolutely. Blake is owning us all. Or Blake. Lux is owning us all, absolutely. And Blake too. He's going to clip that. He's going to clip that and repeat it all day long. So, I just ruined it. But yeah, Lux is absolutely taking care of business. He took, a putrid, first half and turned himself into a key piece. And I know, Jeff, he's been high on what Gavin Lux has to bring and stuff that he's got in him. But it took Gavin Lux having to make a change, going home, refocusing that mental, making some big time swing changes there, and just change the approach, unlock something. And that has all the difference there. And that has the possibility of not even happening if the Dodgers pulled the trigger and moved away from him there. So, yes, I think it's here to stay. I think that the fact that they stuck with him was, one, because they needed him, and two, who knows? They saw a little something. Maybe there were some subtle changes. He just had to keep working in. And this is the product of where we're at there. Real quick, about Max Muncy. Is he any slower on his rehab process than Tommy Edman, Ryan Brasier? Are Tommy Edman and Max Muncy kind of on the same type of plan?
I believe they're on the same plan. Dave hasn't specified that. He said they're both expected to be back for the Cardinals series at some point. So he didn't say like one a day or two ahead of the other, but it seems like they're both coming back here pretty soon.
Yeah. All righty, guys.
Or he might have said homestand.
Homestand? Okay. I mean, hey,
right after the Cardinals series.
Yeah. Okay. This is he said a Cardinals series right after the Cardinals series?
I believe he said homestand, which I think that's the Monday. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All signs looking up there. We're going to open it up. We're going to go to the questions here. This is where it could carry us for a bit. But, guys, remember, toss those in, all caps question, and put them right in. Super chats, you get complete priority. We'll get to those like a good one tonight. Carry us for a bit there. Divert the show. Keep Blake here, like I said, for as long as he can. So he does. He can't go play Madden. Real quick, Destiny asks, and I didn't see anybody talk about it. Any news on Chris Taylor?
Yeah, so he has been doing workouts, hitting live batting practice along with Mookie Betts before he was coming back at the stadium. He's been running, doing everything. Seems like he was on a track to come back within like a week or something, but then Dave said it's going to be a few weeks for him, which if you've been watching him do anything like I have at the stadium before, doesn't make sense at all, unless it's, we don't have room for you. You got to wait for that September call up when rosters expand thing. So yeah, I think that's the plan. They have him on a bit of a phantom IL that was from originally a real injury, but they're saying like, take your time, don't rush back kind of thing. So yeah.
Doesn't Taylor kind of feel like an odd man out right now?
No, that's why they got rid of Rosario.
No, man. They've got to. Don't do this to me.
It depends what they do with Jason Hayward. If they DFA Hayward.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. I know so many people just said, Blake, bring it up, please.
Like, they should DFA Hayward. He's just on the team for being friends and veteran presence type guy, but he's not really providing anything to the roster, especially if Mookie's going to be in right field on a pretty much everyday basis. So I'm not sure if it means like if they DFA Jason Hayward, does that mean they're going to be more likely to also DFA Chris Taylor, or would it mean they're less likely to do it because they just lost a veteran clubhouse guy and now you kind of have a little more roster room to play with? So I don't know, but I'll make that decision if they end up moving on from Hayward and see where I lean on that.
They're for sure going to DFA Kevin Kiermaier to keep Jason Hayward as that lefty bat, aren't they? So he can hit hard ground balls to second base, right? By the way, guys, he's doing this stuff at a career high, like all near career highs. Hard ground balls, right side. His pull side as he's been in a long time.
I feel like Kiermaier provides value to the roster. He can play center field at an elite level, and they need that. Like, I don't see what Hayward provides to the roster at all at this point. Like, what is he doing? What is he here for? What's he doing better than other players? You're not sitting Mookie for him ever, unless you decide to have Mookie platoon with Lux somehow. But then you still have because then he's just playing versus lefty, so that doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Hayward's role is on this club besides being Freddie's friend.
Yes, and against righties, in a spot where Jason Hayward can only be in, he's got a 647 OPS. Like he's the stuff we talked about. Hopefully some guys can find some platoon roles and figure out some stuff. But post All-Star break, we're talking about Jason Hayward, 580 OPS. He's not excelling at all as doing stuff. It was just flukier. I've had some conversations with a lot of people who are really stuck on, the money given to Hayward, and that could have been given to an actual perennial plus platoon guy instead of a 1-year wonder like Jason Hayward. 1-year wonder against hitting fastballs at all-time career highs. And Blake and I were on that too.
I wonder who said they shouldn't sign Hayward when they signed him this offseason. If anyone wants to go pull up those clips.
Staring at him right now. Never forget. Yeah, never forget. The questions about possibly giving Hayward a 2-year deal, and I about flipped over. Yeah, we could have had Jock. I mean, I don't know how much they – I don't know how much. But that would have been nice. I would have liked Tommy Pham. In that role. Do something, or at least get somebody. I long for the days of a 2021 bench of having guys who could actually hit righties at a high clip. You're here to do one thing. Edwin Rios, Matt Beatty, hit righties and do it well. And they did. And now we get stuck with Jason Hayward. Who knows? They'll be here. Kevin Kiermaier will be gone. And then they won't have an elite glove. And then Jason Hayward will have to be out there. But at least he's happy. All right. Got a couple of super chats here. Toss those in. Laura, appreciate you always being here. $5 super chat. Well, the Dodgers going to the postseason. I'm going to let you take this one early, Blake. As division winner, wild card, or not at all?
No, I'm kidding. They're going to be in the postseason. I think that's pretty much a lock regardless. I mean, they're a game out of the best record in baseball, like all things going on right now. They're still in a really good spot. I'm still going to say division winner. I'm optimistic about their team when Edman and Muncy come back because they already got Mookie back. Brasier even maybe. Hopefully Yamamoto here pretty soon. I don't think the Padres and Diamondbacks are going to play at the level they're playing at for another month and a half. So I'm still going to say division winners. But even if they don't win the division, I don't think it's the worst thing. Everyone's saying the wild card is the way to win in the postseason. So let's see. All you need is a ticket. Get in the postseason. Nothing else matters after that point. So I don't really care if it's by division or wild card. Just get in and then try and win. Play good baseball.
That'd be okay with you? Would you be? I know you want, we talked about that division. Get the bye and then you get what happens there. Especially for this team, reset the rotation, go from there. Gives you your best shot, even with the struggles that we've seen recently. You're still on that as well with me, right?
Yeah, I think there's benefits and negatives to both winning and not winning the division. I think we can look back at the last few years when they lost the division. They moved on against the Giants and the NLDS. The 2 years after that, when they won the division, they lost to the Padres and Diamondbacks in the NLDS. So yeah, maybe wild card is the move, but I don't think there's any real correlation to that. I'm just kind of kidding there. I think there's positives and negatives for both of them. And will I probably prefer the guaranteed entry into the NLDS and setting up your rotation and all that. I do think there's something to maybe building up a little momentum and keeping your skills ready to go instead of sitting for a week and then having to come and pick it back up.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Kirk, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I feel like our entire playoff run hinges on the bullpen. Is there any real help on the way with starters only going 6 in on a good day? We'll double back on stuff we've talked about here. Ryan Brasier's coming back there. Blake Trinan will hopefully be back here pretty soon. Hopefully they gave him enough time. There's no big stuff there. But I'm still confident what the bullpen has. Michael Kopech, hopefully they slide him into a more impactful role. He's in an impactful role, facing the best hitters against teams. That doesn't matter where it is. He's the fireman. Put him in the biggest spot in spots of the lineup that could completely change the game. Would I like to see it towards the latter half of the game? Absolutely. I'd like to see it in the 8th or 9th inning. Shut the door. Put your best guys where it's at. But for a night like tonight, the game might have been changed. If he's not there, heart of the order, game could have been different. It's just the fact that Daniel Hudson didn't have it today. But I would really like to see them, push him towards the back end there. Evan Phillips, hopefully Blake's guy, finds some good stuff versus lefties and is able to, kind of slide back into his role as closer or in a very high leverage spot again.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the bullpen in general. I think they're going through a tough stretch right now, but they'll figure it out. The Dodgers always do. Maybe Edgardo Henriquez is a guy that comes up. We've talked about him a lot. It's going to come in throw a 104 with command, and maybe he's just the piece that kind of sparks the bullpen there. I don't think they're going to go into the playoffs like carrying a guy who's slumping. They're not going to have like the Michael Groves and Brent Honeywells on the postseason roster, so I think that will benefit them as well. Maybe Justin Wrobleski sneaks onto the postseason roster as a long man to come give them some relief, another lefty out of the option. So I don't think it really hinges on the bullpen. I would say if Ohtani, Mookie, and Freeman hit, they're going to be in a pretty good spot. And if they don't, then they're probably not going to go very far regardless of what else happens. So for me, it really just hinges on what they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Good train of thought there. All right, let's get to a couple more here. Ohtani losing the MVP?
No, I think he's going to get to 45-45 at least and kind of clinch it with that. Just maybe even 50-50 wouldn't be totally surprising. So I think he has a pretty good hold on it right now. I mean, if the Dodgers lose the division to like the Diamondbacks or something, I think Ketel Marte will have a real chance to win it. I think he might end up getting it if that happens, but it's also a name value kind of award too. Like it doesn't always go to the best player, even though it should. And I think Ohtani carries a lot of weight in that regard.
Yeah. Guys, I already took care of the people in chat. Sorry about all that. I don't know who the hell they are. They need to get out of here. It's stuff we don't tolerate here at Dodger Blue. Not at all. They can never come back here. That stuff doesn't fly at all. We'll ban those people nonstop. We don't care. Stuff's unacceptable. But appreciate you guys being in here. The 1,000. We're going to take a couple more questions here, and I've got to go tuck my daughter into bed. Big school day, big third grader. Let's get a couple more in here before Blake and I head out, and then we'll see you on Sunday. Let's see here.
I'll throw this one up real quick because I have him up. Muncy stats in the minors. He's hitting 308, 400, 385. So not much slug, but he's getting on base and hitting. So somewhat encouraging there.
Sounds like Max Muncy, but need to slug. Health. That's all we need. Get him back in there. And I saw one that I wanted to talk about here. Kevin Haynes, what does Kike's role become with Edman's addition, filling at second and third, give the guys a rest? I think that you and I will agree with this. It's that it's going to provide, a perfect platoon. Like I wish it was Rosario that we were talking about. And I know Jake and Chad, we were talking about that on Twitter, but I would have really loved to see Rosario in that role. But I think Kike Hernandez now, with the possibilities of Edman, center field, shortstop, whichever, Kike opens up to being a more versatile piece and not just stuck at third. I think it's going to be a great platoon there at second base with Gavin Lux. I think that's it's going to be terrific. I know Kike has been good against righties recently and an above average player there, but just giving yourself a more surefire option that you feel comfortable and not having to leave Gavin Lux out there. Everybody talks about how Gavin Lux is on a hot streak. Let him play against both sides. But sometimes those players, it's good to, protect them from their weaknesses to keep them on that hot streak and not expose them there. So I think Kike would be a terrific option. It's going to open up to spell him possibly, third base for sure. Give Max Muncy some days off his feet if he needs it. I think he's going to be fine going forward. They're going to, baby gloves it until they green light him. But it's never going to hurt to open up Kike Hernandez to being that utility man.
Yeah, I think like the Ben Zobrist roles talked about a lot with guys like where they play every day, but at a different position, kind of popularized, I can't say that word right now, by the Andrew Friedman group there. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what we see with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, guys. Well, we appreciate you a ton. Blake and I, absolutely.
One more super chat real quick.
One more. Rod, you always get you here, man. Oh my God, we keep doing this. Teams with the best record rarely win the World Series. I mean, hey, they're trending that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to do with the baseball playoffs. Like, they're random. They're hard to win. They're not made for the best team to win. And that's just how it goes. Like, the team that gets hot and plays well is the one that's going to win, and that's what it's going to come down to. The regular season doesn't have a whole lot of correlation to it, and just something they have to kind of accept and try and figure out how to get hot at the right time.
Absolutely. So again, shout out to the 1,000 being in here tonight. Thanks for being active in chat. All the regulars, thanks for tuning back in. If you listen to us tonight live, listen to us post chat on the VOD, on podcasts, wherever you can find them, Spotify, iTunes, whichever. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Blake and I always appreciate you. That's Blake Williams, managing editor, hardest working guy I know. Chat, we appreciate you. I'm Scott Geirman, senior writer, Dodger Blue. We'll see you next time. Hopefully the Dodgers come out firing against the St. Louis Cardinals. I think it's a must win. I think it's a series that you've got to capitalize on them playing poorly. And it's the way you're going to hang on to the division. Hopefully find a soft spot, and then all roads lead to the Diamondbacks at the end of the month. We'll check in with you on Sunday, guys. Sit tight. Go Dodgers.